Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our monthly Second Saturday's poetry reading. Those of you who don't know me, my name is Dan Kerr, and I have the privilege of being your moderator for today's program, which is hosted by local poet Kathy Donnelly. We do aspirationally start on time, so we're just a couple of minutes late because we had a big group and I had to let some people in. So as I said before, please keep your microphone muted, not to distract the other poets. Also, feedback is a gift. So if you would like to provide some feedback, things that we did well today, things that we didn't do well, ways that we can improve the program, please have a very simple email, danielbkerr@verizon.net. The tricky part is it's verizon.net, not .com. Any feedback that you share with me will be thoughtfully considered. Kathy and I meet periodically, and although we've been doing this for 4 years, we recognize it's still a work in process. So your thoughts are welcome. Your suggestions are appreciated. Planned agenda, I'll get you settled. I will turn you over to Kathy, who will introduce today's featured poet. And we're fortunate to have Barbara Novack with us today. Then we'll go to the open read. Remember to put your name in chat. Then we'll bring Barbara back for an encore. And then Kathy will have some concluding remarks and also announce the next poet that we have coming up already in August. This program, I recognize that you're here for poetry, not for evangelization, but this is one of several outreach programs at All Souls Church that we do on a monthly basis. So I mentioned these three things that we do because these are things that the poets have participated in over the years. So we have a concert series, which is called Saturdays at 6, and the group performing tonight is the group of students from the university. They started as graduate students, and then they got their master's, and then I think 3 of the 5 ended up getting their PhDs at Stony Brook, and they so much enjoy playing, they come back every year. If you wonder where they got their name, the Voyager Reed Quintet, apparently on the Voyager spacecraft, there was actually a recording of music that was part of the outreach into the galaxy. So they'll be performing tonight. People will call me and say, what time is the Saturdays at 6 concert? And I will remind them it's at 6 o'clock. So we do that every month. We also do the poetry every month. We used to do it in the church. Since COVID hit, Kathy and I decided to do it virtually, and we've decided to keep it virtually. And the advantage of doing it virtually is we can have Nicola from the UK with us, so we could have people from Colorado, we could have Mike from North Carolina. So really, we found that doing it virtually opens up our doors to be more inclusive. So we do that, and we also do the 4th Thursday of every month, most months except November and December, which are tricky because of Thanksgiving and Christmas. We do Native American drumming as well. It comes out of the Native American experience, the spiritual healing experience. If you're interested in learning more about these outreach programs, you send me an email or just check out our website. Once a year, we bring together poetry, music, and Native American drumming. We do something called Conversations on the Sacred. And one year I had it as Conversations on the Scared, and no one noticed it. It's on the sacred, not the scared. This year's program will be October 6th. We'll do it at 6 o'clock. And what we do here is we have spiritual poems, which originally were selected by Carmen Bugan, but now are selected by Carolyn Emerson. So she looks at various spiritual traditions. She selects poems. We have poets you'll recognize the names here, the poets from the poetry community read the poem. And then after each poem, we have a musical interlude, which is either Dan Kinney which is the church organist plays, or the Native American drummer, or you'll see there 2 students from the university. So you're all invited to that. That'll be on September 6th. And that one is not at 11 o'clock. Virtually, that is 6 o'clock in the church. And then the last thing I'll mention before I turn it over to Kathy is once a year we do a 5K race and a 2K walk to celebrate the role of the church in the community and the various things that we do. Also to raise funds to make the church more accessible. When Stanford White designed the church in the 1800s, late 1800s, life expectancy in the US was less than 50 years. So accessibility wasn't high on his list. So we're trying to raise funds to make the church accessible each year. And it's a 5K race and also a 2K walk for those who prefer a more leisurely pace. And every year we have a group called the Live Poet Society that so far we've had walkers. So you'll recognize Rabbi Fisher, you'll recognize Bruce, you'll recognize Kathy, you'll recognize Dr. Bronson, you'll recognize Wendy there. So every year there's a group of poets. I don't have Barbara with her rattle, who was inspiring the group last year in this picture, but Barbara usually comes as well. And it's a great way to have some fun. It's a very healthy thing to do, and it raises funds for a good cause. This is actually the 17th year that we've done it. So if you like to participate in the race this year, if you'd like to run or walk with the Live Poets Society, just let me know. Okay, so again, I welcome all of you, and I'll now turn you over to Kathy. Kathy, please remember to turn your mic on.
Okay, it's on. So welcome, Barbara. Barbara, I do start off with a poem, and one here that I learned about in a workshop I'm in, and it's called A Litany for Survival by Audre Lorde. Because of this, for those of us who live at the shoreline, standing upon the constant edge of decision, crucial and alone, for those of us who cannot indulge the passing dreams of choice, who love in doorways, coming and going, in the hours between dawns, looking inward and outward, at once, before and after, seeking a now that can breed like thread in our children's mouths, so that their dreams will not reflect death but ours. For those of us who were imprinted with fear, like a faint line in the center of our foreheads, learning to be afraid with our mother's milk, for by this weapon, this illusion of some safety to be found, the heavy-footed hope to silence. For all of us, this instant and this triumph, we were never meant to survive. And when the sun rises, we are afraid it might not remain. When the sun sets, we are afraid it might not rise in the morning. When our stomachs are full, we are afraid of indigestion. When our stomachs are empty, we are afraid we may never eat again. When we are loved, we are afraid love will vanish. When we are alone, we are afraid love will never return. And when we speak, we are afraid our words will not be heard, nor welcomed. But when we are silent, we are still afraid. So it is better to speak, remembering we were never meant to survive. Mrs. Barbara Novack. I would just say that I try to get to Barbara's venue as often as I can out at Malloy College. It is always worth the while and the miles and the time. And Malloy College is a beautiful college. Barbara Novack is a writer in residence at Malloy University and a member of the English department. She founded and hosts the on-campus reading series Poetry Events, which will celebrate its 20th season in 2025 to 2026. And off campus, she conducts highly regarded creative writing workshops and presents programs on various aspects of writing. Her poetry has received recognition regionally, nationally, and internationally, and her essays on the writing life begins and influences as well as the nature and value of poetry have been published by Marsh Hawk Press in their Chapter 1 series. She is author of the Pulitzer Prize nominated novel J.W. Valentine and 5 poetry collections. Marquise, who and acknowledged her for her contribution to the arts and honored her with their Lifetime Achievement Award. You, Barbara, know. Take yourself off mute, my dear.
Okay. Barbara, off to you. Over to you. You got to turn your mic on, Barbara. Still waiting to come on. Take a minute or so. I know you did it before.
Can you take her off mute?
I cannot. Just be patient. Okay, Barbara, we lost your video. Now you're back. Your video is back. So there's somewhere on there is your sound. I'm going to try to ask you. I'm going to try something else here. Okay, try it now, Barbara.
Thank you.
There you go. See, I tell you, she's always worth waiting for.
Thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to read poems from each of my published books. I'm working on two new ones right now at the same time. I'm juggling them. But the first one I'm going to read from is Something Like Life. Let me see if you can see the cover. And the theme is art and life within that context. So the sections are portrait, still life, collage, and landscape. And the first poem I'm going to read from this collection is called The Painters. The painters come with their cans and brushes and rollers to cover the lost colors years have resolved to a wistful shadow of what might have been. I selected whites this time, shades of purity, searching for my truth in the tenuousness of untrammeled snow in its moment in the melting sun. The painters come and my artifacts huddle together beneath splattered drop cloths, and I wonder who did a room in midnight blue, and who in sharp citrus yellow, and who in peachy pink. I wonder at the hope behind the rainbow colors. I huddle with the artifacts in a dark void of silence, lacking the passion of midnight blue, citrus yellow, peachy pink. They tell me, these painters, it will be bold when it is done. I know it is only the blank page to be won. Next from this collection is a poem called Change. Fallen amid dried and faded leaves, brittle, powdering to dust, I drift on surfaces of cracked concrete, far from the road of sure destination. Silenced, weary, and wary of surprises, I kick aside the red, yellow, and brown to make a path where I step. It covers quickly behind me, but I walk in eternal present, dulled, watching each step, so careful now not to trip again over life. And watching each step, I find pennies, little copper pieces of insignificance. A penny no longer buys anything, is no longer worth the effort to pick up when dropped. So the pennies lie where they have fallen, kindred spirits, lost and unmissed. I bend and retrieve, wiping away dirt and grime until I see the shine that made me smile as a child. Like words, they add up to meaning, significance in the finding, in the gathering and polishing, in the sound they make together. Lost, then found, they are change. And the next poem from this collection is Still Life. And the genesis of this poem was really my not liking still life paintings much, except maybe the ones where a grape has fallen off the tray or there are crumbs on the tray from the bread being sliced, and it looks like somebody just left the room for a minute and is going to come right back. Those are the ones I can tolerate. So this poem is called Still Life. The bowl of fruit on the well-set table, the pitcher unpoured, the cloth unstained. What is the meaning of the arrangement? There is a longing in the pieces, still life. Beneath the layers of dust, there is our life, half remembered. Memento memories, artifacts of an archaeological dig, a hole in the ground, sand to shift for a bone or two, a chip of clay hieroglyphed and untranslated, a lost language of being. When they tell our story, and they will tell it, they will not get it right, for we are motes caught in a stream of light, moments trapped in amber, pieces of an arrangement no one can interpret, yet still life. Next in this collection that I'll read is a poem called Black Holes. And I'm often inspired by science. And this, what prompted this was a quote from the New York Times where they said, theorists suggest black holes may be explosive. And that's the epigram. They say now black holes explode in the end state. Subatomic particles pair and disappear, one falling into eternal nothingness and its mate flying off into space at a catastrophic rate. They say now black holes as they die lose mass and radiate the half pairs in apparent heat. Quantum behavior, they say, is at last relative, and even the darkest places conform to laws of thermodynamics. The black hole was supposed to be cold, a pulling place of no escape, but now it seems even darkness provides. We deal with heat and a collapsing world too dense to pull apart. But now they say all laws apply. One will fall and one will fly. The next poem in this collection that I'm going to share is called Thaw. The glacier recedes, leaving tides high and dangerous, and striations on the land tracking. We have not spoken to each other these many weeks, occupying accompanying space, repelled like the same charged polarity we were. Sparks no longer flew. It was the cold time, winter of the soul, all soft sentiment turned hard and breakable, easy to shatter. And we stood on that thin sheet of slippery surface, each convinced of walking on water rectitude, while our weight fissured the glaze. We stood our sinking ground resolutely. I do not know what changed our minds. Perhaps it was not quite being able to remember what started it this time. Perhaps it was just becoming too easy to slither past the other. Perhaps it was the mirrors we turned to the wall. This morning I made your coffee and buttered your toast. This morning your shower towel wasn't on the bathroom floor. This morning we saw our reflection in each other. Perhaps it was the fear of what we were sliding into that pulled us back. And the glacier recedes, leaving tides high and dangerous, and striations on the land tracking. And as a counterpoint to those two poems, the next one I'm going to read is called Billet doux, which literally in French means letter sweet. When I got down to the breakfast table this morning, I smelled the sweet soap scent of your shaving cream. I sat in your chair, drank from your cup. You were gone as our night, but you lingered, a sweet surprise, like a love note left for me. And now I'm going to read from a collection called Du House's Dream. These are poems about my parents. And the first one I'm going to read is called 5 Photographs. And you guys will remember that before we all had phones on our cameras and could take pictures all the time, there was a thing called the Instamatic camera where you had a cassette of film and you'd pop it in and you had 27 pictures. And when you took them all, you'd pop it out and bring it to CVS or someplace and they'd develop it and you'd get to see your pictures. And so this one is from that era and it's called 5 Photographs. 27 pictures on the roll and I'd shot 22. Pictures I wanted to see, trips and sights and events, important things. 5 pictures unshot kept me from developing the roll, now past its expiration date. Pictures have a blue tinge developed past the expiration date. I needed to finish off the roll. It was a nice day and my father was doing his usual thing outdoors, popping the hood of his car, peering inside, leaning over the mechanism, wiping, cleaning, testing, tinkering. And later out in the backyard, he would water his plants, the tomatoes, green peppers, cucumbers, and zucchini that rimmed the yard on 2 sides, and his rose bushes and marigolds on the 3rd side. I had 5 pictures to get through on a roll of film past its expiration date. I took the camera outside, snapped 2 of him at his car, 3 of him watering his plants, throwaways that would come out blue anyway. He laughed. It all seemed silly to him and a waste, not something to photograph, just him doing ordinary things on a summer afternoon. Photographs of trips, sights, and events pale. In 5 photographs of the ordinary that finished a roll of film and are not blue at all, my father lives. Excuse me. The next poem from this collection is called White. The white world this winter is not snow with its natural sun-born brightness, but sheets and walls and rubber-soled shoes. Nurses used to wear starchy white uniforms. Now all wear soft, flowery scrub tops and pastel pants, pretending to be hopeful spring. And they are not all nurses. They are the servers and sweepers and wipers, but their shoes are still white. And whiteness is like snow blindness, my eyes searing from the too muchness of it. I cannot see her so small against the sheets, lost in this late life storm. I close my eyes to it and see painted on my lids so clear the smile I miss. Now, when I speak and speak and speak and try to pierce the white out, she sometimes returns with pale glazed eyes, yet they clear as her hand touches mine. I wait for her lips to move, her corners turning up, for the warmth of her sunlight to wash over the white. Okay, next up is from my collection, A Certain Slant of Light. These are all nature poems that follow the arc of the seasons, and they all deal with light. And I'm going to take one close to our current season, and it's called One Leaf. One leaf, tired of summer heat, drifts down on the lazy haze, ending a season in a moment. And the next poem I'm going to read is a little bit later in this current season, and it's called Evening at Jones Beach. Evening at Jones Beach on the end of summer, beginning of autumn, final first day. Setting sun leaving opalescence in the season's stillness aftermath. Gulls circle silently, stalwart swimmers sit. Boardwalk strollers pause to ponder transcendence as the eternal waves chase each other to shore. Next, I'm going to read from my collection, Heart Like Leaves. This is a collection of poems I wrote as I was dealing with caregiving for my brother in his final illness. He had terminal cancer. And some people journal. I was writing poetry because that's what I do. And then I realized I had a story. So it's a memoir of in poetry of love, loss, and consolation. And the first poem I'm going to read from this collection is called Holding Tight. I was holding so tight to the steering wheel, trying to keep our car on track, while the track inevitably ended in a ditch. I climbed out, bruised, soul-battered, weary, and worn. He remained to rise like smoke and dissipate. The soot fell on me. I held on, knuckles white, hands cramped, gripping air. I need to let go, but I'm frozen in this pose, clenched, gripping air. The next poem I'm going to read from this collection is called The Length of Grief. Grief is long and wide and meanders like the Mississippi. And like the Mississippi, it starts far from its end, a trickle in the unknown reaches, to a gush into the tributary, to a rolling flow in the river, to a spewing end as its mouth spits into the unending vastness. But perhaps we are not so propelled to the end, into the vastness, his and mine, different but similar. His beyond a veil, a door with no knob, mine in place on an unsettled surface. When grieving is long, grief is a cup of tea, a chocolate bar, a piece of pizza, lunch with our friends, the nightly phone call with mine. Grief is floating on the river that started far from its end. And the final poem I'm going to read from this collection is actually the epilogue, and it sort of sums up what I was doing in this book, and it's called Recoup Bouquet. Gather it together into a bunch like flowers, recoup bouquet. Gather it together, the pain in all its colors, with its own perfume. Hold it, know it. Its gift is knowledge and the dark beauty of loss that is its own grace, believing in its own time when one must. Gather it together, the sand and the shards, the hourglass broken. Gather it together, time that was, time that is. Gather it together, recoup bouquet. And next up is my book, Dancing on the Rim of Light, which came out at the beginning of 2020. And most of the other books I've written came out towards the end of the year. And I figured, wow, I've got a whole year when it's a new book. And then the world shut down for the pandemic. I got one reading, and that was for Judy. So the first poem, these poems are meditative, ironic, celebratory, and there's an entire section devoted to the writing and appreciation of poetry. The first poem I'm going to read from this collection is called The Wind-Up Watch. The batteries have died, the gears have frozen, the workings got wet. The newer watches sit in the dresser drawer in a sad tangle of untold time. I retrieve from the back the old wind-up watch, abandoned for the newer that need no attention, that run on their own, effortless, blithe beings that tell time carelessly, tossing off the seconds, minutes, hours mindlessly, as if they did not matter, tossing them like confetti in the air. The wind-up watch takes effort to find the time each morning, point the hands and whir the wheel to its limit. The wind-up watch has boundaries. Its time is finite. I thought I would resent its time taking mine, but instead I find it a meditation each morning on the limits, on the value of time. Next from this collection, I'm going to read a poem called Outside the Abandoned House. Outside the abandoned house is a dying tree. In spring, there was life, laughter in the house. Now all is cold and empty. Love is war. Life is not. Is an untended garden, gray and overgrown with weeds. All the flowers of springtime, just a memory. Life's melody half heard, and love's misremembered. Is a swing set, rusted in the season since someone loved a child here. Then armies opened the garden gate and strode its grasses and left devastation in their wake. Now, the next poem I'm going to read from this collection is, it's a metaphor and timely, as we are living in a world where we see so many people, so many of our neighbors being othered. And the poem is called Egg. Boil it, scramble it, fry it, still an egg. Wherever it came from, whatever it looks like, whatever the color of its shell, still an egg. Now I'm going to move to the section of poems that's devoted to the writing and appreciation of poetry. And the first poem I'm going to read from this section is called Meditation. Meditation. 1. Question. What happens when we write poetry, and what happens when we read it? 2. Mystery. Poetry is experience, not necessarily was and is, but want, hope, or simply mystery. Poetry is. 3. The quantum physics of poetry. A poem exists once it is written. The poet exists. The poem, the expression of that existence. A poem does not exist until it is read, lacking its how. Observation alters any state of being. Uncertainty is the poetic principle, the quantum physics of poetry. 4. The poet. In a waking, caffeinated dream, the poet dances among the 26 sisters of mystery, both more than the poem and less. And the next poem from this section, and the last poem I'll be reading, is a poem, assuming I've done my 20 minutes, of Poems in the River. Poems are paper boats floating on a river current. The poet makes the poems, not the current. Poems float, swirl, and eddy, and ultimately find cupped palms that reach to greet them. And it is they who can't change the current who do change the river. Thank you very much.
That was great, Barbara. That was great. You did, in 20 minutes, you did 18 poems, and each and every one of them was quite moving. I love the first one that you did on the painters, about the lost colors of what might have been, and just never thought of painting in that depth, and to the still life, reflecting on the bowl of fruit and trying to sort out what's really happening, and the exploding black holes. I never thought of that. And that beautiful poem on the thawing, the analogy between people and glaciers, just quite moving. And I can smell that your husband's shaving cream or cologne, and I wasn't even at the table. What a beautiful poem about your dad in those 5 pictures. Just very moving. And the transformation of the nurses from the white to the pastel, and how one leaf could signal the end of the season, and the evening in Jones Beach, with one wave chasing another into the shore, and then when those poems, beautiful poems about caregiving, and your reflections on your brother, and you being the car driven into the ditch, and how grief is kind of like the Mississippi. It just, you don't know where it starts, but it goes all over the place, and the grouping together, the recoup bouquet of gathering all the grief together like flowers. It's just a very, very, very powerful imagery. And then the other, there's so many, there's so much to comment on. And, the reflective watch, in terms of that comment on technology, and how you really have, if you really take time seriously, you got to have a wind-up watch. And that beautiful picture of the abandoned house with the dying tree and the untended garden. And the very timely poem about it's an egg is still an egg, no matter where it comes from. And just the final 2 poems of the reflection on poetry, the 26 Sisters of Mystery, and the poems being kind of like paper boats on the water, just all very moving and a lot compressed in 20 minutes. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you very, very much.
So we're going to move now to the open read. And I hesitate to call them rules. Let's call them guidelines or parameters. So, I've got the names in chat, so I will call you. So don't worry, I will give everyone a chance to read. Please, 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 I said that 3 times, only 1 poem, and the poem should be short. So if you got a poem, you're thinking about reading a poem that's more than 5 minutes, please select another one. We just don't have time to do it. Please keep your microphone muted until I call upon you. And after we get done with the open read, we will bring Barbara back for an encore, and then Kathy will close the program. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call you in groups of 3, and please be mindful of the fact that we will give everyone a chance to read. So if you're worried that you're not going to get a chance to read, just purge that thought, okay? So the first group of 3, and remember, when you're called upon to read, you have to turn on your microphone. Some people are challenged by that. I'll be patient, I'll be kind, we'll give you a chance, but you will have to figure out how to turn on your microphone. So the first group is Marvin, followed by Nicola from the UK, followed by JR. And JR, if you want to read the poem about the barking dog, you can, but you don't have to. Okay, so Marvin, over to you.
The title of the poem is Empty Nest. They are all gone. The nest they left makes the pyramid simple Under the eaves, their stitched twigs, engineering marvel, 5 tiny mouths reached for sustenance. Their elders searching out food are no longer seen, not on the lawn or even overhead. A family exodus, the 5 taking off from fluttering wings, unsure, no bird left behind. Perhaps eggs will hatch again in the great construction, and mouths will rise to new tomorrows.
Thank you, Marvin. Well done. Okay, Nicola, over to you.
Thank you. That was lovely, Barbara. I particularly enjoyed the 5 photos and the nature poems. I thought they were lovely.
Thank you.
I was going to do the second one from the Way of the Pilgrim, but it's I thought I'd do False Autumn instead because it's not as long, and I know there's a lot of people to read, and I can't find it now. Would you like to do the next person while I find this and then come back to me? Because I'm aware that we've got a lot of people to get in today.
I'll come back to you. So, JR, why don't you go next, and then we'll come back to Nicola. JR?
Okay. Super. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Barbara. What a great selection of poems. And of course, you know my favorite book and you know my favorite poems. And I'm so glad that you read from them. And Dan, I have several barking dog, pandemic, bunnies, doorbell ringing, phone going. I have a bunch of those. But this is a recent poem. My dad's 16th heavenly anniversary was on Wednesday. And so this was something I had actually written for him before that, but for Dad. Hey, Dad. I saw you the other day sauntering across the street, tail twitching a beat, checking for peanuts the neighbor leaves for you. You should be careful. Look both ways. Sage advice you gave me, but I was a kid, not a squirrel, taking its sweet time crossing. I know it was you last week, perched on my deck rail and trilling at 3 a.m. You knew the window was open and I'd hear you, maybe come out and sit with you for a while. I wanted to. But your sweet song lulled me back to sleep. I'm pretty sure that fly was you. Pesky things circling my head followed me inside and buzzed around, tempting me to get the swatter. I'm glad I didn't. You found your way out. All these costume changes must be giggles for you, though if you got the squirrel suit, you must have slept in, and all the good costumes were gone. I know your sense of hilarity hasn't left you up there, so I know it was you last night. Albino spider descending in front of my computer screen, legs swimming in air. Gasp. I blew on it, back, up, down 3 times before you lost interest and disappeared. I knew it was you and let you be. Next time, please warn me. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful tribute. Okay, Nicola, back to you.
All right. Okay, I found it now. It's a shorter one than I was going to read. It's from a collection called Your Song, and we're in a heat wave at the moment, so this reminded me of this one. It's called False Autumn. Autumn came early in the year of drought. Leaves scarlet and golden falling untimely, cobnuts trodden underfoot litter the path as the sun beats down. Dry leaves carpet woodland floors in this false autumn, crackling like fire with every step as I seek shade. I remember the autumns of my childhood, the wild bounty of sloe and elderberry, blackberry and rosehip, of polished conkers ready for playground battles and orchards ripe with apple, pear and plum, a time of gentle plenty. I long for the soft mists of true autumn, damp leaves and moist earth, for the sharp, clean smell of frost, with cobwebs draped like silver nets on hedgerows, each water droplet a shining jewel caught in frosted threads, and delicate ferns of ice etched on window panes as the year begins to turn towards winter. Autumn came early in the year of drought, a travesty of autumn, born of too much heat, of dried-up rivers, scorched earth, and withered crops. Late summer trees shed leaves, stressed beyond endurance, seeking to survive, hastening towards their winter rest. A healing sleep, a sleep from which not all will wake. There you go.
Thank you, Nicola. Well done. Okay, the next group of three is Don, followed by Claude, followed by Randy. So Don, over to you.
I'm using a laptop I'm not familiar with, so it took a moment. This is called Faces on the Wall. I collect ethnic art, so I wrote this about some of the art in the library. Carved wood from far-off lands, effigies of faces gazing down from the library walls, of societal ceremonies, initiation, in fire's light, dancing, moving, swaying in the swirling smoke. Sir Newfold honored one with the keenness of antelope and the strength of the gator. Beautiful ballet men, distinctive hair, scarification, honored in polished wood. Baquili death portrait, your sleeping eyes, now they see other things. Dancing Chihuahua in damp earth, with your horns and thick mane, swaying, bowing to the songs of spring. Princeling of the Dan, you hold counsel among your friends. Painted one of the Congo, you frighten still with your angry eyes. Just a reflection of some of the pieces in the collection. This is the Chihuahua mask, which is headdress, which is worn in a ceremony when they do the planting in the spring. It's from Mali. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Don. Thank you for the multi-dimensional reflection. Okay, Claude, over to you.
Hi, everybody. I guess you set the tone with that a litany of survival. This poem I'm going to read is not mine. It's written by a 28-year-old Palestinian doctor, poet, writer named Ezzeddin Shihab. And I know a lot of us are very upset about what's going on in Israel and the genocide. Now the World Court has called it an extermination. And we want to do something, so I thought I should read this poem that was sent to me. There is no internet, no signal, no sound, no world beyond this cage. I walked 30 minutes through ruins and dust, not in search of escape, but for a fragment of signal, just enough to whisper, "We are still alive." Not because anyone is listening, because to die unheard is the final death. Gaza is silent now, not with peace, but with obliteration. Not a silence of stillness, but of smothering. They severed the last cable. No messages leave. No images enter. Even grief has been forbidden. I passed the corpses of buildings, of homes, of men, some breathing, some not. All of them erased by the same hand that erased our voices. This is not a siege of bombs alone. It is a siege of memory. a war against our ability to say we were here. The bombing never stopped, especially in Jabalia. They shell the streets where children beg for food. They shell the lines where mothers wait for flour. They shell hunger itself. No food, no water, no exit. And those who try, those who reach for aid, are struck down. People die here, and no one knows. Not because the killing paused, but because the killing of connection succeeded. The internet was our final breath. It was not a luxury. It was the last evidence of our humanity. Now it is gone. And in the dark, they massacre without consequence. I found this faint eSIM signal as a dying man finds a flicker of flame. I stood beneath a broken sky, risking death, not for rescue, but to send this, a single message, a last resistance. If you are reading this, remember, we walked through fire to say it. We were not silent. We were silenced. And when the cables are restored, the truth will bleed through the wires, and the world will know what it chose not to see.
Thank you, Claude. Very moving. Okay, Randy, over to you.
Thank you, Claude. You just reminded me of something I just learned this week is at my worst, it's still wealthy, white men, first world problems. So it gives perspective. This is called the curse of Sisyphus. Sisyphus, cursed with pushing an immense boulder to the top of a hill in hell for eternity. Help, I need advice. Combating a mountain of miseries. Obtain physical therapy for back, elbow, neck, nerves twisted and taut, grate over bones, like a heavy metal guitarist grinds strings over frets when banging on them in a ferocious solo. New house requires remodeling, pour 20K into condo rental renovation, repair home washing machine, need new PC after wife's computer crashed. Boulder becomes my bank transferring money in one direction. Art major daughter breaks her arm and her cell phone dies on same day. Drummer son injures his right wrist again. Falls behind in his Berkeley classes again. Next day, have emergency gallbladder surgery. Next morning, wake up to learn father is riddled with cancer. Next day, dad dies before I can fly to see him. Boulder crushes loved ones and me. Flashback to my martial arts black belt test. Drill, run and spar till I can't raise my arms, can't defend myself. Bodies bellow, muscles scream, cells shred, fibers fray. A slow motion movie shot of a bridge cable snapping. Vision blurs, hearing warps, stomach swims, thirst shouts, and legs quiver like an aging boxer before collapsing to the canvas. My mind is a bustling city devoid of traffic lights. Fueled with road rage, anxiety slams into guardrails. Severe sensei, pitiless, pushes me past the point of endurance to reveal my limits. Yet I can't let go. I'm life's martial arts students in an endless trial. Sisyphus cursed. So Sisyphus, the mountain's too high, stones too large. How can I find happiness muscling a boulder uphill for the rest of my life? Randy, understand responsibilities versus burdens. One you control, one you can't. The first take up, the second lay down, and I'll carry the burdens for you. Poem.
Well done, Randy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next group of three is Joyce, followed by Ophelia, followed by Dan Kerr. So Joyce, over to you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you so much, Barbara. You knew my husband, Louis Zimmerman.
Oh,
Um,
sure.
yeah, he was my husband. And very quickly, I'll tell you, I was the poet in the family, and he was the science teacher. And I said, I can't keep writing poems because I have to make some money. So I went into corporate writing, and he became a published poet. But after he died, I just naturally went back to writing. So I have a poem here about him, which I'm writing. I'm trying to put a book together eventually. But I just did want to say hello to you and to Judy Turek, who I can't see you later because I'm not feeling well enough to come out to the event at 1 o'clock. But anyway, I wanted to also point out that I realized that I think it was Randy who just made that comment about our problems. So I have problems, but they are physical problems, but they also are middle class problems. And I do appreciate Randy. I think it was Randy's comment and the poem read about what's happening in Palestine. So it's good to know what context we're living in. So I'm sorry I'm taking up too much time, but my poem is short. So it's called Wedding Anniversary, and it's dedicated to my husband, Louis. Um, so just when I think there is no more grief, no more toothpaste left to squeeze out of the tube, I manage to brush my teeth alone. Just when I think I'm used to missing you, memories I had forgotten and new words turn up at 4 a.m. It's been a June full of rain, and until now, a journal full of blank pages. The month of our wedding, the month of our older daughter's birth. In fact, it was our 4th anniversary when we brought her home to our co-op apartment in Queens. It was in July, though, that we met at a synagogue dance. You introduced yourself. Hello, I'm Louis Zimmerman. Would you like to dance? And we did for almost 41 years. Now it's our 45th anniversary, and I'm still dancing, but without you.
Beautiful,
Thank you
Joyce. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you for the opportunity to be part of a wonderful poet, community. I really appreciate this opportunity.
We're here every month, and we'll welcome you each time you come.
I found out about the link from Judy, usually known as JR, but I think of her as Judy. But I gave you to put me on your list, but I didn't give you my email address.
Okay.
So
you can put it in chat, and I'll pick it up at the end.
All right. Thank you very much. On to the next person.
Okay.
I look forward to hearing the next person.
Okay, Ophelia?
Yes. Hey, hello. I have to say that my infinite thanks to Barbara Novack for the encouragement, the support I received while attending her Oceanside Creative Writing workshop. Thank you so much. And a short note, Boriquen is the indigenous name for the island of Puerto Rico. And here we go. Here's my latest poem. At the end of my visit to Boriquen Island, I witnessed a saffron sun sink into a crimson purple sea, stood on balcony under starlight above fireflies and coquilles, answered soft knocks on my single room door, touched to find yesteryear face on the threshold, seductive cat-eyed gaze from now framed by glasses, suntan hands with dilated veins offer yellow roses and wine. No words were needed. During long embrace and kiss, a teardrop said it all.
Thank you. Well done. Okay, next poet is Dan Kerr, and 1968 was quite a year, as you were, those of us old enough to remember. And one of the things that happened that year is Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated. You know, the year started with the seizing of the Pueblo, and then we had the Tet Offensive. We had Lyndon Johnson resigning. I could go on and on and on and on. I was in a speech contest in 6th grade, and I was a finalist, believe it or not. And the topic that I picked was something called the Metcalf-Hatch Act, which was a new law that gave dog pounds were required to turn over their unclaimed dogs for medical experiments. And I figured, hey, everyone loves dogs and the nuns like dogs. So why don't I give this speech about this? And I rehearsed it and I thought I was going to do a real good job. And I was, had a pretty good chance. But until the guy before me got up, and the guy before me got up, this was in the spring, and it was a month after Martin Luther King had been assassinated. And he gave a speech about the I Have a Dream speech in 1963 on that hot day in Washington, D.C. that really changed the world. So ever since then, I've had a special relationship with Martin Luther King. And the wonderful thing about Martin Luther King, and if you say, why were his speeches so powerful? He grounded what he had to say in scripture, and he grounded what he had to say in the promise of America. He never lost faith in the promise of the founding fathers and the promises made but not yet kept in the Declaration of Independence and other documents. So this poem is called Lost on the High Plane of Dignity, dedicated to Martin Luther King, and a commentary on what's happening today as well. Lost on the High Plane of Dignity. After I watched a CNN reporter standing in front of burning cars, describing the latest mostly peaceful protest, I went home and reread Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech, which is hanging on my office wall. In the speech, he says, in the process of gaining our rightful place, we must not be guilty of woeful deeds, wrongful deeds. We must forever conduct our struggle on the high plane of dignity and discipline. We must not allow our creative protest to degenerate into physical violence. King dreamt that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed, and quoted the words written in the Declaration of Independence. Quoting, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. How do we advance civil rights by attacking statues of Thomas Jefferson, the man that wrote the creed? Or George Washington, who led us through the struggle of independence from colonialism? Do Christians spit on letters of St. Paul? Do Jews demonize Moses? How does canceling our founding fathers bring us closer to social justice? When King quoted the prophet Amos, when he said, let justice roll down like waters and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream, he did not imagine bricks falling on policemen thrown by rioters. The question for you listening to this today, regardless of your politics, your national origin, your skin color, your religion, your sexual preference, or anything else, at the risk of being canceled, are you brave enough to stand up to an angry mob? As Dr. King said in front of the Lincoln Memorial on that hot summer day in 1963, we must forever conduct our struggle on the high plane of dignity and discipline, and not allow our creative protest to ever degenerate into physical violence. Thank you. Okay, the next group of three is Mike from North Carolina, followed by Bruce from Northport, followed by Bob H. from Parts Unknown. So Mike, over to you.
Morning. I'm going to read out of my second collection of spiritual books. It's called His Footsteps. Just a little prelude. I was walking through the sands in sagebrush in Farmington, New Mexico. Saw a bunch of footsteps going every which way, but most of them were going the same way I was going. And this poem just started playing in my head. It's called His Footsteps. I'm walking through a desert like Jesus used to walk, looking for a quiet place where we can stop and talk, searching for salvation that only He can bring. While walking in His footsteps, I just can't help but sing. Glory, glory, hallelujah, praise to my God above. Glory, glory, hallelujah, I pledge to Him my love. I'll walk the straight and narrow if He'll but lead the way. Glory, glory, hallelujah, I know I'll be okay. There are footsteps by the dozens that don't follow where He trod, footsteps by the dozen that lead away from God. Lordy, how I'm tempted to see what they might bring, but I look just for His footsteps, and again I want to sing. Glory, glory, hallelujah, praise to my God above. Glory, glory, hallelujah, I pledge to Him my love. I'll walk that straight and narrow if He'll but lead the way. Glory, glory, hallelujah, it's in His path I'll stay. I know my days are numbered. I know He calls me home. I know what lies before me by the love that He has shown. I'll have a place in heaven and not want for anything. If I follow in his footsteps and reverently I sing, glory, glory, hallelujah, praise to my God above. Glory, glory, hallelujah, I pledge to him my love. I'll walk that straight and narrow if he'll lead the way. Glory, glory, hallelujah, I'll walk with him someday. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Well done. Okay, Bruce, one of Northport's finest poets. Bruce?
Thank you, Dan. And thank you, Kathy and Barbara. And thank you, Claude. This poem is called Nippon Daisies, which is the original common name of Montauk daisies. Nippon Daisies. Travelers from the rocky shores of Honshu come to set roots in the sandy soils of Montauk, Bayshore, Seacliff. Immigrants, optimists, secure in their new home, their new name, American name, better to gain acceptance. But who would not love you, such bold, bright flowers? Late but dependable bloomers, perennial, adorning a garden of stunning profusion. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. And Bob H., not to be left out, from West Sayville. We're going to stop the convention of maybe where people are from, but Bob from West Sayville, go ahead.
Hi, thanks, Daniel. Since you mentioned Dr. King, I just wanted to mention his work goes on. About 6 months before he was murdered, he created a group called the Poor People's Campaign. And unfortunately, with his death, it didn't go too far. About 3 years ago, it was resurrected. And what it tries to do, unite people of all colors, races, creeds, sexuality, etc., to join in to create a moral reckoning to try to solve the issues of this nation. So they call it the Poor People's Campaign if anybody's interested. So sorry for the plug, but his work lives on. This is called Young and All Alone. Left home at 14, had no money or means, was on his own, always felt alone. In the daytime bustle, he did his hustle, got a bit of loose change to ease his hunger pains. Times on the street were tough, some cops could be rough. Burrowed in the subways at night, out of society's sight. Usually slept on a bench or train, beat being out in the snow or rain. Often was startled to his feet by the transit cop on the beat. Somehow he got through the night to start another day's fight. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Okay, the next group of three are Jerry, Ophelia, and then Joyce. So Jerry, over to you.
Okay, thank you. Claude, that was really wonderful. And Barbara, your poems were just really lovely and very touching. This poem is called The Song of...
I already read.
Excuse me? Okay. This poem is called The Song of Building 329 First Avenue and 11th Street. Williamsburg, 1952, 288 U Street, a block from Broadway. Child, mother that I was, boarded the trolley, an easy step up to the open seats with a full view of the passing streets. The movie theaters, Calderon, Willie's, just before Havemeyer Street, heading for the Williamsburg Bridge. Mother in tow, first stop, dropping us off the walk across First Avenue to 11th Street, Building 329. People from villages of Naples, Palermo, Calabria fill the catacomb spaces of buildings 5 stories high, topped by Uncle Andrew's pigeons, Uncle Vito shouting up from the steep incline of Building 329, "Rosie, I'm coming up!" The saloon below with men who had been baking bread, shining shoes, the parade of them in their push carts of vegetables, rags, junk, the Iceman, the coal truck with its masterful chute, feeding the fires of the building up and down the Manhattan streets. Me inside my windowed womb, nurtured by the singing voices of the men atop the horse-drawn carts, the knife man sharpening his metal to the challenging reprise of women feigning dramatic irritation. Allora, Vincenzo, dove Marcello? Disgraziata, mangiare presto, finalmente. These women in their aprons, who cooked pasta, made coffee, hung their sheets out the back window, and on Sunday paraded down the flights of steps in their black kerchiefs, black dresses, black shoes, to the street until they reached the Catholic Church of the Immaculate Conception on First Avenue and 14th Street, their hands around the rosary as always, praying away the warped wilderness of time, yet still stopping by Venero's pastry, dolce fa niente, una tazza di caffè, a sweet little nothing no one could pass by. Thank you.
Well done, Jerry. Well
Thank
done. Make my Italian wife listen to that. So.
Yeah.
Okay. I made a mistake. I think I included Ophelia twice. So I think we only...
Dolce far niente, but I already read. Thank you so much to everybody. You've been wonderful.
Lo siento mucho for reading you twice. So we'll do Joyce, and then we'll add Wendy to the list. So Joyce, over to you, and then followed by Wendy. Joyce. Okay, I don't see Joyce, so we'll come back to Joyce. Oh, there you are, Joyce.
I read already.
I make mistakes. I'm not perfect.
No, I thought maybe there was another Joyce.
That's fine. That's fine. We had a lot of readers today. So Wendy,
job moderating.
Okay. Thank you much.
Wonderful job.
Thank you for the kind words. Wendy, over to you. Wendy, I see Wendy is there. Wendy, you got to turn your mic on.
Hi, I'm just here to watch today. My dogs are going crazy. My family just walked in.
Okay, so don't want to read, or you do?
Sorry to have stepped aside.
Okay, so we get a pass. Okay, good. All right. So at this stage, let me check, and we'll give everyone who wanted to read an opportunity to read. Let's just go around.
Rose put in the chat she wants to read. Rose, I think.
Okay, Rose. So let's do inventory here. So we got Rose, and then I'm gonna ask Kathy, which I always do. Is there anyone else who wanted to read who hasn't had an opportunity? Okay, Rose, over to you.
Okay, well, nice to see everyone. Some familiar faces. Hi, Judy. I'll see you in a bit. And Joyce and Ophelia and Barbara. I love your writing voice. So thank you for your sharing and everybody. I wasn't going to read, but I was very inspired by everyone, but especially Claude.
Yes.
For, pointing out what's going on. That's horrific. But anyway, so I chose a poem that I wrote a long time ago, but recently resurrected it and modified it somewhat because it's still timely. So I'll go ahead and read. The title is Many Hues. I've been around the world, from here to the Far East and back. The things I've seen, people I've met, experiences encountered, they were many. Like the potential derived from a painter's palette filled with hues of many colors, the painting of the world I witnessed was rich with beauty and hope. I learned of differences and similarities, and that no matter who or where we are, what culture, religion, gender, pecking order, caste system, socioeconomic standing, disability, or color, we're all connected forevermore. I learned of a universal hunger we share, a famine unsatiated by food, but one, if allowed to be fed with love and compassion, will sustain us in the end. The link to harmony for humankind is celebration of our individuality and the freedom to express it without judgment or hatred. For it's our differences that enrich and give brilliance to our lives. The contrasts bring depth and flavor to our experiences. And in letting variety shine through, we sense how similar we truly are. Like the many hues on a painter's palette, the possibility of varied shades that can be derived are so much grander than if the choices were just a few colors on the spectrum of our humanity. Thank you.
Thank you, Rose. Okay, over to Kathy Donnelly.
That was a lovely poem. Thank you for reading that. Chip, did you read for us today? I don't think so.
Chip's got microphone problems. He's deferred.
Oh, okay. So did we get everyone then?
Everybody
Yes?
but you.
Okay. So I have a little poem here about writing, writing about writing. In fact, James just made a whole anthology about that. So here's a poem called A Writer's Day. See if you relate to it. A Writer's Day. It occurred to me around dusk. I had had a splendid day, listening to air dance through the linden trees, click and clatter at the bird feeder, sway of needles on dark pitch pines. This kind of day inspires me. Imagination set free, a story grows, glimpse of life not my own, real, contrived perceptions of voices from uplanders. How was I to know the day's hours would melt into themselves, leave me peaceful, contemplative? I think of my evolving story, decisions, consequences. It is one thing to be inside my head all day long, another to be in someone else's. How can I know what anyone is thinking, feeling? I can only imagine and write.
Thank you, Kathy. Well done. Okay, Barbara, back to Barbara for an encore.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Everybody in the open was wonderful. Just delightful to hear all those different voices. I'm going to read another poem from Something Like Life, and this one is called Too Far. In Hawaii, they give directions strangely. Wherever you want to go, you are told the street beyond. They say, if you are at King Street, turn around, you've gone too far. The turning around, retracing your steps, is part of the game of going somewhere, sort of circling your destination before landing. Is it, I wonder, the island sense of you can't really go too far, so why worry about it? Or is it the wry humor of those who know versus those who don't? Or is it just the shrug of paradise living? Who cares anyway, since it's all beautiful and time, well, it's different here, isn't it? Oh, some bring their hurry up with them, but even they, when they see the soaring surfers' waves, the soul-bursting sunsets, the star-spattered night, when they hear the symphony of swaying palms, piccolo to oboe to bassoon, even they sigh and smile and slow their stride. And I wonder, is there such a thing as too far? Until you turn around, too far is where you go. Too far may be the destination you didn't know you wanted. And then it is not too far at all.
Great ending, Barbara.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Joy to have you. Kathy?
So we're going to have our own Don Billings, who's here with us today. He'll be our reader for next month. We'll look forward to it. Don's poems are so real and politically minded, which is great. I love it. So we look forward to him. You want to give a wave, Don? There you go.
Okay.
So that's for next month.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. This concludes the formal part. I'll keep the microphone on for a moment or two if you want to interact with one another.